Welcome back. Thank you for staying with the Hot 7 TV Nightly News. The quick action of neighbors ensured that an elderly man in grave danger escaped unharmed from a fire that engulfed his home. The fire happened on Saturday and completely gutted the wall and wooden structure. Community members of Cicero rallied to pull the elderly man from his residence before the fire service arrived on the scene. The spokesman for the fire service said they received the report at about 5:38 p.m. and responded with 2 fire trucks and an ambulance. Fortunately, no one was injured as a result of the incident. Prime Minister Allen Chastanet says although he is very hopeful about the abilities of Liat's new chairman, former Barbados Prime Minister Owen Arthur, St. Lucia will be making no major investments in the cash-strapped airline Liat unless Arthur is successful in addressing various issues with Liat's operations. Addressing the press, Prime Minister Chastanet assured that St. Lucia will be closely monitoring the work of Owen Arthur.
Since the partial rejection by the Chastanet administration to inject a requested US $600,000 into the operations of the regional airline Liat's operations, Prime Minister Allen Chastanet says he continues to maintain his position on the issuing of financial assistance to the airline. Chastanet said in order to make compliance to such a request palatable to his government, there would need to be a significant restructuring in the operations and governing body of the airline. Seemingly an answer to his prayers, Chastanet touted the appointment of former Barbados Prime Minister Owen Arthur as chairman of Liat. However, Chastanet dispels beliefs that this recent appointment will directly impact his position on Liat investment. He says that instead he will continue to seek concrete evidence of the airline's stability.
St. Lucia's commitment is always there, on condition that we see that there is a going concern that we can invest in. We have to be satisfied that the tough decisions that have to be made in Liat are going to be made. And therefore, there are a lot of adjustments and structural changes that take place. I think that is a good signal in having Prime Minister Arthur there, because I think that he is a no-nonsense person. He is a person that has a very good commercial sense as well. And if there's any person that could potentially break this deadlock, I think that he's that potential person. So St. Lucia is very hopeful that something can come of this new decision.
Chastanet says he retains the highest regard for the competence of the new chairman and is hopeful for the future of the airline.
My hopefulness changes because he's a very capable person. Prime Minister Arthur is a person I have a tremendous amount of respect for. But St. Lucia's position remains the same, that we will obviously wait to see what Prime Minister Arthur is able to achieve. And if in fact that he is able to make the structural changes that we think that are necessary at Liat, then we would give thought to making an investment. But as Liat is currently structured, our position remains the same.
Chastanet says his administration will not deny assistance to the new board of Liat if needed, but maintains all pre-existing conditions until further notice. For Hot 7 News, I am Jacko O'Day.
Now, Prime Minister Allen Chastanet addressed the nation on Sunday, reviewing the year 2019 and announcing plans for the year 2020. The address, titled "The Time Is Now," sought to inspire public confidence in the buoyancy of the economy and touted the government's work towards building the healthcare sector, the tourism and agriculture sector, manufacturing, sporting, and the creative industries.
The new year has presented the opportunity for many to reflect and reaffirm or adjust their goals for 2020. It is no different for the government. Prime Minister Allen Chastanet delivered his New Year address to the nation on Sunday, the 12th of January. According to Prime Minister Chastanet, 3.5 years into his administrations, St. Lucians can see and feel the positive signs that the country is moving in the right direction. The most recent IMF assessment on St. Lucia described growth prospects in the near future as favorable.
Unemployment, which was at 25% when we came in, has been reduced to 17% according to the most recent reports from the Statistics Department. And we anticipate a further reduction this year. The undisputed fact is that our economy has recorded growth in every single year since we took office. I make this point to emphasize the fact that history shows that St. Lucia always prospers under a United Workers' Party administration. We have a track record laid down by our founding father, Sir John Compton, of consistently developing this country.
The administration has its sights set on a number of projects and advancements for 2020. Prime Minister Alan Chastanet says the government is excited for continued record-breaking growth in the tourism sector as a result of upcoming projects.
Following the negotiations and the securing of several approvals, the physical hotel projects are set to start. Among them, the Hyatt project in Shock, a Dreams and Secrets hotel in Canals, and the highly anticipated Cabot St. Lucia, a game-changing project for the Caribbean golf industry. Our discussions with international carriers have borne fruit, and we've experienced an increase in airlift into the island, resulting in over 400,000 stayover arrivals for the first time.
He also highlighted what he described as the largest investment in St. Lucia's history, nearly $350 million in infrastructural works.
Work is imminent for the road in Dennery Village, Blasha, Spring Roads in Micoud South, and the new development roads in Soufrière, just to name a few. The Ministry of Infrastructure's rehabilitation program will cost EC $110 million, the Millennium Highway and West Coast Road $130 million, the Cul-de-sac Bridge $30 million, the Shock Bridge $22 million, and the feeder roads $50 million, nearly $350 million in total, making this the largest such investment in St. Lucia's history.
Major national projects also include the commencement of a cruise ship terminal in the south and the redevelopment of the Uwanora International Airport.
Outspoken talk show host Rick Wayne is weighing in on the Prime Minister's address and his prospects of getting a second opportunity from the electorate to deliver on his ambitious goals.
Given the current political climate, Prime Minister Alan Chastanet's New Year address was highly anticipated. In many circles, it was felt that it will set the tone for what's to come throughout 2020 in terms of political campaigning. Outspoken talk show host Rick Wayne watched the address keenly. The issue of the state of the healthcare sector remains a sore point for the Alan Chastanet administration. The talk show host concedes that St. Jude is a crucial factor, and he says the Prime Minister will have no choice but to deliver on St. Jude before the next general election.
Alan Chastanet has promised the people they're going to have a hospital before the next elections. If he doesn't do it, he's going to have to answer for it. But I think they know how important that is, and they're working on it. I heard him repeat it again. If he doesn't accomplish it, he's going to have a lot of explaining to do for people to try him again. So that's my answer to that.
Election. So it could cost him the election.
But I'm not a negative guy. I'm thinking that if you're smart, you know what is important, what's especially important, and you will pull heaven and hell to get it done. I don't think they're going to abandon it like the Labour Party did almost 2 years before an election. And then only to find it was halfway completed, forgetting whether it was nicely halfway done or badly halfway done. It was not done by the date you said, and you said almost a year later and still didn't deliver it.
Some of the Prime Minister's critics say his work plan was too ambitious and is not obtainable at this point. But Rick Wayne is more hopeful, and he commends the Prime Minister for his out-of-the-box ideas.
Almost everything he does and says is new. So naturally it's going to rock the boats. But people don't understand it would be easy for him to just simply follow those who went before him. No boats would be rocked, and they would get exactly the same results like everybody else got, which is failure. We are where we are today, not because of any one prime minister, but because prime ministers just followed the leader into foolishness. So if we are going to change anything in this country, there has to be a mindset change. Alan Chastanet has a mindset change.
He was also encouraged by what he termed the futuristic tone of the address.
So last night I was very uplifted to hear Alan Chastanet talking about artificial intelligence, talking about a new world. Alan Chastanet in his time will not be able to deliver all of that, but he will have started something going so that his successors will continue on that trend rather than seeing tourism as the forever thing. Somebody has already warned that even tourism 3 years from now may not be tourism as we know it. We have to find out as much as possible what is it going to be like so that we can educate our people to be ready for that.
Wayne has made his support for the Prime Minister known, but he says he will, like the electorate, have no issue turning his back on any politician or government that does not deliver on its promises.
External Affairs Minister Sarah Flood-Bobra is cautioning St. Lucians to be on their guard during this time of growing tensions between the United States of America and Iran. Last week, the U.S. Embassy in Barbados issued a security alert to Americans, asking them to remain vigilant in the jurisdiction of the embassy as well as throughout the OECS. Minister Flood-Bobra says St. Lucians also need to remain vigilant, not only for the threat of international terrorism, but for local terrorism as well.
When the threat of terrorist acts stemming from the rising tension between the U.S. and Iran led to the U.S. Embassy in Barbados issuing a security alert to American citizens in the jurisdiction of the embassy and to the OECS, the question was raised asking whether the region is safe from Americans on a whole. On Monday morning, External Affairs Minister Sarah Flood-Bobra told Hot 7 News that the tension means that everyone should indeed be on their guard at all times.
I think the world we live in today, every country should be very, very wary of terrorism. I mean, we live in a global environment, and you are correct. I mean, our main source of income is tourism. That's what our economy is based on. And we, of course, receive many American visitors, North America, particularly Europe. And we're looking to expand our markets and our reach. And certainly, nowhere is safe now from terrorists.
The minister went on to say that this caution does not stand for international threats only.
Don't forget that way back in 2001, when we experienced the unfortunate events at the cathedral. At that time, we really didn't link it to terrorism, although it was spoken of. But very often my mind goes right back to that, to say that we all have to be vigilant. You're talking about extremism existing in a world where communication is so easy. And, I mean, it just takes one incident.
She said the time, place, day, or motive can never be known.
We've had acts of terrorism in remote parts of the world where one would have never expected. In places where people don't expect, in schools where there are children. What can a young child do to a terrorist? This is a world where people have very different views, and there's a level of intolerance that is happening. So we must all be extremely vigilant.
Flood-Bobra said everyone should be in a state of preparedness. Reporting for Hot 7 News, I'm Rochelle Gonzalez.
This is the Hot 7 TV Nightly News. Stay with us. There's more coming up after the break.